microball which had been incorrectly capped and would have dried out had I not at the crucial moment found it and restored its seal. Though even with pencil, I could tell this story pretty well. My sister said it was an adventure book, and that the trouble with adventure books was all action and no feeling. She said that the book had the moral complexity of a baseball game, and that her hand would force no 9-year-old girl to read it. She said a few more self-righteous, priggish things, and then off she went, leaving Treasure Island on my futon, along with Palomino Pal and Ride on the Unicorn's Back, though what was wrong with those books, I mean according to her, I don't know. For a third-grade teacher, my sister is pretty careless. Later, she called and said, "Would you return the books I left at your place to the library?" "Why didn't you like this one called Treasure Island?" I said. "Don't tell me you're reading it," Adriana said. "I hate a book with no girls in it." Does such a knee-jerk sensibility deserve to be recorded? But I am writing in a very nice, unlined Muji notebook, and I can always go back and cross out her insufferable parts later. "Don't tell me you're reading it," she said, as if I were doing something to the book, whereas in fact the book was doing something to me. I'm 25 years old, and this happened on a Monday when I didn't have to work at the pet library and had no plans except to sleep and maybe wash my bras in the sink, and that was a big maybe. Birds chirped. Shadows fell on the linoleum. In the distance, a weed trimmer whined. When I got to the part where Long John Silver's gang captures Jim Hawkins in the deserted stockade, Lars, my boyfriend, left a message on my voicemail saying did I want to go out for a burrito. Here is my life, I thought. And there is the adventurous life kicking out the covers of Stevenson's novel. When had I ever dreamed a scheme? When had I ever done a foolish, overbold act? When had I ever, like Jim Hawkins, broke from my friends, raced for the beach, stolen a boat, killed a man, or eliminated an obstacle that stood in the way of my getting a hunk of gold? I, a person unable to decide what to do with my broken mini-blinds, let alone with the rest of my life, lay on my bed, while in the book's open air, people chased assholes out of pubs and trampled blind beggars with their horses. You needn't have a violent nature to be impressed with animal energy. If life were a sea adventure, I knew, I wouldn't be sailor, pirate, or cabin boy, but more likely a barnacle clinging to the side of the boat. Why not rise, I thought. Why not spring up that very moment in the spirit of Jim and create my own adventure? "That's how I felt when I saw He's Just Not That Into You on Oprah," Rena said. That book explained everything about me and Dougie Thomas. Personally, I think the fact that he called himself Dougie explained everything about Rena and Dougie Thomas. That and the fact that they'd met at a Christmas caroling party he single-handedly organized. But I never tell friends their boyfriends are probably gay, so I let the matter drop. Rena is a close friend. She knows firsthand my history of low-paying jobs and hapless boyfriends. This was the following day, when she and I were sitting in our favorite coffee shop eating gratuitous pancakes. Her name for the meal taken when she has recently eaten lunch, and I have recently woken up. That day, I'd slept late only because I'd been up all night finishing Treasure Island, and I was thrilled to tell Rena my discovery. But as we talked, I felt I was leading a clumsy tourist through the jungle of my thoughts. Rena lagged, slapped at mosquitoes, tripped on roots, missed the waterfall. A painful truth I'd learn later: you may be ready to grow, but you can't fertilize friends and grow them with you. I must have been the tiniest of boats rocking on the sea of Robert Louis Stevenson's consciousness, I told Rena. I must have been a seabird streaking through the azure sky of his daydream. In just the same way spirits are said to commune across cultures, time, and continents, Robert Louis Stevenson's book Treasure Island felt cosmically intended for me. Isn't it a kid's book?